From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of Evenings LA for April 30th, 2022, with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. Major developing details tonight as now multiple fourth stimulus checks have landed. Oh boy, we have incredible news in this big 1 hour special broadcast from the shores of Santa Monica tonight. We'll go over not one, not two, but four stimulus checks landing in every single state. This is huge news, and it's breaking news tonight. Then we'll be going back to the other checks that are going to be happening right behind that. Well, the latest developing details tonight about Build Back Better Act that has an inherent deadline and date now set for that vote. Then we'll be turning to the exciting details about SS300 and why, if Joe Biden makes that swap from coal to inflation tonight, you can get another $300 a lifetime. Thereafter, we'll be turning to 6 stimulus, to student loan debt forgiveness, 7 stimulus that have major developing details as well this week. And then we'll be turning back to whether there will be more checks on top of all these checks. It was a big week that ended not so well on the economic front. What do we have? We had Amazon and Apple and Google shares down dramatically. And this is as supply chain disruption continues to cripple the U.S. economy. Supply chain disruption from Putin, from also coming out of COVID, and now the subvariant of Omicron spreading across international shores. Then we also had GDP numbers released. We have indications about where inflation's going as well. And then we had growth projections that weren't particularly good either. In tonight's recording, we'll go over why bad economic data is good data for stimulus relief, because people want to give you stimulus when the economy is stalling up. And tonight, the economy is majorly stalling up. In fact, it's likely to shrink to 0% growth by the end of the year, if my projections are correct. That is, yes, recession. While the latest details across this 1 hour broadcast. But first, if you haven't become a member, make sure you become a member, because that is where people are getting big checks. Big, massive checks, daily, hourly, from fourth stimulus. They've landed, and I hope you've got some of them as well. If you haven't, you want to become a member right tonight. And over this 1 hour broadcast, we have big money for you from the shores of Santa Monica, California. We're looking beautiful. We're looking gorgeous. We are looking like money, because that's what's going on. Lots of money into our hands, and it's time for you to get it tonight on Evenings. And good evening, everybody. For April 30th, 2022, we are going into the month of May, and we have incredible news as not one, not two, but 4 stimulus checks are landing in every single U.S. state tonight. This is amid a bear market. This is amid a falling economy, amidst a shrinking GDP, amidst a struggling U.S. economy. But remember how it works. If the economy is struggling, then people want to give you more money. These are checks that are already law. More checks are coming behind them. Over this 1 hour broadcast, we have a lot of money to go over. Yes, many, many checks are in every single state tonight for April 30th, 2022. And over this 1 hour broadcast, we're going to go over all these incredible checks, how you get them. And I'm so excited for you to become a somebody, not a nobody. What is the difference? I'll show you in tonight's recording with the breaking news. But first, subscribe. Go to the front of this channel, hit that subscribe button, become a member, and get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday that features all this incredible money. Let's go right into the breaking developing details tonight about Build Back Better Act. The President of the United States internal team says they want to tee this up very quickly and get it done. Then another report says that the inherent deadline to call vote is now set for Memorial Day weekend 2022. Another report says that Kristen Sinema, Joe Manchin, Joe Biden negotiations have resumed and that they're going in good faith. Here's what you need to know, is that the Build Back Better Act has a lot of checks featured on this channel over the last year. $15,000 to $80,000 checks an individual, and they're huge. But the Build Back Better Act is also supported when the economic data is not good. And the economic data this week was really not good at all. Also, your SS300 is supported if the economic data falters and the inflationary rate does not drop. Let's go over that data first. When we talk about SS300, Joe Biden said he wants to swap your COLA for inflation. And if he did, your benefits would go up $200 more per month, starting in that month in which the swap happens, which if it's next month, May, the swap could happen then, and then $200 a lifetime. Then in December of this year, if inflation tracks at about 4%, then you get another $100 on top of that. Let's go over the equation right tonight. Your benefits are tied to COLA, and COLA doesn't move. And COLA last year came into 5% in December, and at 5%, you got cheated because you should have been swapped for inflation. Had you been swapped for inflation, you would have gotten 8% inflation in December 2022, and your benefits would have gone up $200 a month. And then if inflation tracks at 4% this December, you get another $100. Well, the good news tonight is actually great news. As we start the month of May, and it was a month ago, I said, I don't know if inflation is going to still stay at 8% in the month of May. Thank goodness. Remember a month ago, I said, I think we're fine if Joe makes that swap in early April. Mid-April, I start to get a little worried. Late April, I get a little bit extremely worried. Tonight, I'm in great spirits. Why? Because inflation is likely tracking higher than 8% tonight. That means if Joe Biden made that swap and called it inflation, you get $200 more per month this month. And not just this month, not just this year, but lifetime. Why? Inflation is still tracking higher in the U.S. economy, most analysts say. Let's go over the data tonight. The Federal Reserve will have that FOMC meeting just a few days ago now, and that Federal Reserve FOMC meeting is to raise interest rates, a half basis point. No surprise there. I've been reporting that for 2 months. Then the next meeting after that, there'll be another half basis point increase. But if Joe Biden made the swap right before that FOMC meeting, we're good, even about a month after, because it takes a while for that FOMC meeting's effects to take the U.S. economy. You get $200 more per month, not just that month, but lifetime. And then what happens later this year? Jay Powell says inflation is going to drop to 1.9%. I don't buy it. It's going to drop to about 4% by the end of the year. That would be another $100 on top of your existing benefits. Where is inflation tonight, and what is the latest data? The latest data tonight is that inflation is actually a little bit higher. That's actually really good. So if inflation is actually higher, then you're good with that $200 more per month. What was the data that came in this week? Well, the Federal Reserve uses a lot of inflationary benchmarks, and the inflationary benchmarks it uses include PCE. That's core personal consumption expenditures. And the number came in this week, and it rose a little bit more in the month of May. Let's look at what the numbers show in the month of March. Let's look at the numbers right now. The March figure was lower than Wall Street anticipated, but it was still higher than than we've seen for a very, very long time. Let's look at the data. The number was below the 5.3% reading for February. It came at 5.2%, and it was a little bit lower than Dow Jones estimates of 5.3%. The bigger story for today was that the data release was further evidence that inflation is starting to ease. Excuse me? I don't agree with that comment. That's from Andrew Hunter, U.S. economist and Capital Economics. He thinks that inflation is easing. I think he needs to ease into the data that came in a week earlier that showed your CPI indicated that costs of goods were still going up dramatically. This data was, of course, the end of this week. The week before that, what was the data then? It showed from February to March, price of energy, which is oil, your gasoline at the gas station, went up 11% from February to March. Ouch. Ouch, that's enormous inflation in 1 month, folks. And then the price of fresh fruits and vegetables went up 3% in 1 month. My goodness, from February to March. And this guy says that inflation's easing. Well, maybe easing, in the last 20 minutes, but not from February to March. Come on, that's ridiculous. It also showed the CPI number across the whole U.S. economy showed about a 0.25% increase at least. So we had more inflation from March compared to February. This guy's saying that inflation may be easing in April. I'll wait till I see a little bit more data. The good news is that if Joe Biden makes that swap and call it inflation, you lock in $200 more per month. Now, the good news doesn't stop there. Because if the economic data is bad, then guess what? If the economic data is bad, then more people want to give you stimulus. There's two things happening tonight that signals why more stimulus is likely to happen. Now, let's recap again what I said in the opening remarks. There's currently at least 4 stimulus checks in every single state of the United States. That, I will say again, there is at least 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. There could be more checks if the Build Back Better Act passes. The Build Back Better Act is dependent upon a series of events, and one of them is what is the economy looking like when it's time to vote. We saw this since 2020. In the earliest days of this channel, I said, I'm always worried about the data right before they vote, because if the data suddenly changes, then maybe they change their voting position. The good news tonight, folks, is that the economic data is actually worse. The data of this U.S. economy has actually worsened. And that worsening economy means more push to get stimulus out the door. Where was the economic data this week, and how bad did it get? There's a lot of ways to look at the data. We can look at the data on the federal level, on the corporate level, on the consumer level, or all of them. And that's what we're going to do starting right now. We ended the week with a horrific week on the stock market. And that was as corporate earnings showed massive troubles. Massive troubles. Let's take Apple, for example. The iPhone, very simple. The iPhone has parts in there. You understand that as well. And you understand most of the parts on the iPhone come from Asia. You understand that very simply. Some of the parts are made by Apple in Asia. Some of them are made in Asia for Apple by Asian companies. Well, Apple says, we will not have those parts ready by the end of the year. Not referring to this quarter, which is second quarter, not referring to the last quarter that just reported corporate earnings, referring to the next quarter. So it says the headwinds in front of us are very bad. It's saying that we're giving guidance that we're going to have major trouble through the end of this year on getting products made. If you don't have products made, you don't have sales. If you don't have sales, you have less earnings. You don't have less earnings, you have less employees. You'll lay people off. Not saying that Apple will, but here you go. Supply chain constraints could hinder fiscal third quarter revenue, says Apple. And its corporate earnings reports came in on Thursday. That is why Apple is down significantly on Thursday's reports. The current market performance is threatening to make a transition from long and painful correction to something that's even more troubling. What's worse than long correction? Long correction means a crash for a long time. What is longer than that? That was a comment by the chairman of asset management market field named Michael Schaud. He's referring to 2020 by example. His is March 2020 when the pandemic hit. We saw a sharp decline and then a sharp recovery. Remember last channel? It was the V-shaped recovery. We did a lot of that. The V, I covered a lot. And then we talked about the K-shaped recovery, how wealthy people recovered but not poor people. He says, not going to look like that this time. He says it's going to look like a long-lasting losses. That is going to be a creeping bear market with steady widening over prior market leadership. Oh. Boy, that is not good. Now, what happened with Amazon? You know Amazon. What happened with Amazon on Thursday? Similar, worse news. They had major misses. First, in the quarter that just reported, they had a loss of 7.56 a share. They haven't reported a loss since 2015, folks. 2015. And then Wall Street is expecting a profit in that quarter of $16 a share. Instead of $16 a share profit, it was a loss of $7.56 for Amazon. Amazon is also giving weaker guidance going forward. S&P was down 6% for the month of March, the worst performance since the start of the pandemic. NASDAQ was down 10%, the worst since March 2020. And a lot of the data showed this is the worst month that just ended, April 2022, that we have seen in sometimes 15 years. 15 years. Ouch. What's the cause? Supply chain constraint. And that's what Jay Powell's trying to do, and that's something that he has no tools to fix. In fact, Congress has no tools to fix it either. No one has a tool to fix it, except maybe Joe Biden, somewhat. No one has any tools to fix it. The only way you can deal with it is you give stimulus. You give stimulus, because if there's supply chain constraints, then what happens? Your products go up. If your products go up, then you can't afford the products. Then you suffer economically, financially. And if you suffer financially, you need more financial stimulus. And if the prices go up because of supply chain constraints, guess what Jay Powell says? He says he's going to raise interest rates to deal with the supply chain constraint. Don't work. It don't work. No one thinks it works. No one thinks that raising interest rates deals with the fact that you can't get products out of China to the United States, or you can't get the products out of the port to you in the suburbs. No one believes that. No analyst believes that. So what do you get? You get from Jay Powell the worst of two scenarios. You get higher interest rates, which means more expensive credit card debt, and also you still have inflation. From Joe Biden, however, you have the solution. And the solution may not just be from Joe Biden. Why? If you look at the latest landscape of where we are politically, there's a lot of polls that say the Republicans are going to take the House and Senate in the midterm elections, but my polls, or my opinion, is very different. My opinion is that when you look at the history of people struggling economically, the party that wins is the party that does something. And I don't mean just say something, I mean do something. And that is why both political parties understand going into the midterm elections, they got to do something and actually get you money. If they don't get you money, then they lose. So what are the opportunities and what are the options right tonight? And this is why I believe you may have a bipartisan forced stimulus. The situation tonight is that if the Republicans sit back and let the Democrats pass the Build Back Better Act, pass it, the Republicans will lose, because the Republicans will be pointed at by the Democrats saying, hey, we got you money, they got you nothing. Now, let's do the reverse. If the Democrats don't get the Build Back Better passed and the Republicans do nothing, then the Republicans say, hey, the Democrats are in control, they got you nothing. So this is why, if both parties analyze the situation correctly, the cautious mode for both of them is to do it as a team. Both to get something to you, and then they can't blame that neither side got anything. And guess what? If they're going to do something, they got to do it in the next 30 days. Whoa, this is big. When you talk about voting in the 2022 midterm elections, you're talking about not just the situation about the senators in Congress, the House members in Congress. You're also talking about the state legislators and the state senators and the governors. Then many of them are up for re-election. What's at issue? What's at issue is that if the federal government wants to do federal stimulus, Build Back Better Act, and get it to your hands, they need to get it going in the next 30 days. Let me go over the analysis right now. What's at issue is the following. You don't vote on election night anymore, November. No, you don't. You vote by mail, which is literally 60 to 90 days at a time. And if you vote by mail, that brings us back to about August that they need to get a check in your hand to influence your voting by mail. If they're going to get you a check by August, they got to pass this by July. If they're going to pass it by July, they have to have the vote set up in the Senate by June. If they have the vote set up in the Senate by June, then they have to have an agreement by May. See how quickly that was? See how quickly that was. That is why they're saying that they're going to get this passed by the Memorial Day weekend. That's what they say they're going to do, but I believe they have to. Otherwise, it's not going to get in your wallet before you vote for the midterm elections. Now let's go to that state stimulus, because this one's getting interesting. States are also giving new state stimulus, and they have an easier timeline, but actually an even closer timeline. Yes, they're up for re-election, many of those state senators and the governors of the states, but they have to use or lose money. And if they're going to use the money, they got to use it by December, which means they got to get you the checks by about October. For them to get you the checks by October, that means they have to send them out by August, and that means they got to get them solidified by agreement by about May as well. See how it all sort of lined up? Yes, the month of May is going to be a big month. The great news tonight, and let's go back to what we said in the opening comments of this video tonight for April 30th, 2022, is that what I was just talking about is future checks from SS300, future checks from Build Back Better Act, future checks, additional checks from your states. But tonight, the great news is that there is on average at least 4 stimulus checks in every single state. Let's say it another way. In every single state, there's a 4 stimulus check. In every state tonight, there is a 4 stimulus check. Many states has upward of 4 checks. Some states have a lot more than 4 checks. But in every state of the United States tonight, there is a 4 stimulus check available for you. How do you get those incredible checks? You want to become a member. You want to become a member, the link's at the top of the channel, the pinned comment, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. You want to become somebody. You become somebody by giving yourself that pat on the back because you listened to the videos, you became a member, you got the newsletter, and then you got one of those checks from Force Stimulus. You feel so good when you got it. I had a wonderful message come in from a viewer overnight. Said he or she, I can't remember if it was a he or she, said got 1 year of rent from this channel overnight. Another viewer said he got $9,000 of student loan debt forgiveness. I got to tell you, the feeling is wonderful when you get money. If you've had a success story, post in the live chat right now. I'll have more about this in just a second, how you get these Force Stimulus checks and how they're landed by direct deposit. But let me go over some other details that are important before we get to the nuances of that. The first one is Vladimir Putin and his debts. Yeah. Did he Putin on the debts? Let's go over the details tonight. Vladimir Putin believes that any debt obligation that he may miss will be a fake debt obligation. Yeah, that's like your fake popularity. The Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, says that Russia will not default and that any default will be purely artificial. What's at issue? Russia was trying to pay its debt obligations that are very hard for it to pay because of those U.S. sanctions against it in a currency that is not allowed under the debt agreement. When you got a debt, you ask for some money. Here's some money. Okay, how do I repay it back? You pay it back, in his case, in euros, or US dollars. That's what the debt agreement said. He said, no, I want to pay it back in ruble. Go ruble yourself. No one wants ruble as a repayment. And that's why his debt obligations threw him into a tizzy. First, Moody's had said, S&P Global Ratings said that Vladimir Putin's debt fell to selective default when he tried to pay the debt back on April 4th by ruble. Go ruble yourself. Then it got worse when Moody's Analytics said that it will drop the credit rating even worse if Vladimir Putin does not make the debt obligations by May 4th. And so this May 4th date is a very big day. So going into the week on Friday, Russia appears to have made about 117 million at least dollars in repayments to avert its first potential default since the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution. But he's not out of the woods yet because there's other debt obligations. Whoa, yes, that is very interesting. When we talk about six stimulus, we talk about that allegiance of U.S., France, and also Germany. That's the largest stimulus package we've seen of a generation. And I had pre-warned you back, I think it was in April, that if certain things don't happen by May, we're going to recession. And if certain things aren't fixed under six stimulus, we're going to recession. And I also said that you could potentially see six stimulus merge into four stimulus. Well, tonight, the situation is that everything that I said had to be fixed by May 1st has not been fixed. And that's why we're going into a 2-year recession first. In this case of oil, I told you that the price of oil currently at the pump back in March 2020 was not sustainable if it continues in the month of May and we're going to recession. Guess what? It's still the same level. The current price of gasoline at the pump, if you're a member of this channel, it's in the newsletter. The first line every night is the same as it was April 1 when Putin invaded Ukraine. Price of gasoline is unsustainable at $4.11 a gallon nationwide average AAA. We're going to recession because of oil. Number two, I also told you that the price of wheat and grain unsustainable into the month of May if it stays at the levels it started after Putin invaded Ukraine. Why? Because Ukraine is the bread belt of that area. There's a shortage of grain and corn and those similar products in the Black Sea region of Ukraine because they can't harvest the products. Tonight, the price of wheat in the United States, your loaf of bread, is still at those record generational highs. Not sustainable. We're going to recession because no one can afford these prices of wheat indefinitely. You're starting to see more analysts talk about something other than oil because I got to tell you, there's a lot more people who eat bread and carbs than people who drive cars. And if you don't have the price of bread down, if you don't have the price of oil down, then guess what happens? We go into recession for 2 years. Tonight, we're going into recession for 2 years because we're entering May 1st and we don't have any of these things solved. So, the good news between you and I, the membership of this channel, myself and you, the Purple Power community, is that I, just like in 2020, when Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin did not have the second stimulus package done, looked and found you money. Tonight, I have been looking and hard and finding you money, and you have gotten it. Checks have landed. In every U.S. state tonight, there's a fourth stimulus check, and every viewer of this channel has gotten a fourth stimulus check who has listened and learned and earned. And I'm going to show you, every brand new viewer of this channel, welcome. A brand new member, welcome. I'm going to show you where these fourth stimulus checks are, how to get them, and why you need to get them. They're huge. There's not one, there's not two, but there's at least four stimulus checks in every U.S. state. It's huge. I'm going to go over all the details starting right tonight. The first check is from your state. And I don't want you to hear the first check and forget to think about the second, third, or fourth. That's what I always warn viewers, and I didn't see it as really an issue until just in the last 24 hours, where people started to forget about check A, B, and C, what I call them, and only focus on this check that is brand new. It's only been around for 7 days, check D. It's only been around for 7 days, and it's just getting started. Let me say that another way. States are now giving fourth stimulus checks. They're just starting to. They're not done there yet. Let's go over what happened. 2 weeks ago, states started announcing that they're giving you a fourth stimulus checks. And at the time, I had one viewer from Tennessee saying, yeah, but just 2 states. What about my state? I said, give it time. Tennessee will announce something. Give it time. All the rest of the U.S. states will announce it. Well, we went from 2 states to 20 in 48 hours. Can you imagine? And then yesterday, on Friday, we added 4 more states. So we have now grown to 24 states. I believe that we will grow to about 40 states in the next few days. These 40 states are giving you fourth stimulus checks. Why? Let me explain what happened. This dates back to the earliest days of 2020, when Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi were arguing over the second stimulus package that was proposed. She said the states are out of money. Steve Mnuchin said they're not. She said they are. He said, okay, you know, we're going to settle this. I'm going to do use or lose. What does that mean? It means that if states have the money, they got to use it, spend it on you, or return it back to the federal government. Quickly, states that acted like they never had any money in their wallet. Oh, I found some money. Here it is. Suddenly start sending it out to you. Yeah, you know how that happens? They had millions and billions of dollars in their bank accounts, and they acted like it wasn't there. Suddenly they found it, and they started sending out stimulus checks. Guess what's happening right now as well? Janet Yellen presumably gave the states a kick in the heel, saying, hey, remember, you also have another use or lose. But I like that money in my bank account. Use or lose. All right, already. And guess what? States that acted like they had no money, suddenly, poof, they got money. That's what always seems to happen. And they are using or losing. Let's recap how we got to this place. It's third stimulus. Third stimulus, the American Rescue Plan, passed in January 2021, gave states a fortune. A fortune. Every state, repeat, every state was given a fortune. Red states, blue states. Rich states, poor states. Every state was given a fortune. In fact, every state was given the same amount of money. They're given the same amount of money based upon the number of residents. Now, you didn't see the money because it's not in your bank account. It was in their bank account. And suddenly, that use or lose date is coming up. It's December 2022. States now realize the following front. They got to use it. Because remember, no state's going to return free money back to the federal government. They will use it. And I already went over those timelines to get you those checks. So they got to get those checks moving right now. So tonight, the great news is that 2 weeks ago, we were at 2 states. Tonight, we're at 24 states. Next week, we're likely going to go to 40 states. And those 40 states will even grow thereafter. Why? Because they all got money. They all got money, and they're going to spend the money on you. Let's go over the details of what those checks are in just a second. But first, the other thing I want to go over is that is the incredible Check D. That is the latest Check D that just came on the surface on this channel in the last 14 days. Yes, Check D, which is a check that comes from the states. That's the result of states having leftover money from a third stimulus package in 2021 is Check D. Notice it's D. Well, then what the world is Check A, B, and C? Yeah, those are checks that became law before Check D. And I don't want any person at any time to only focus on Check D. It's intolerable on this channel because guess what? There's Check A, B, and C as well. We're not jumping to the end. We're covering it all. And the great news is that Check A and Check B are astronomical sums of money. Check A was a forced stimulus check made law by executive action by Joe Biden, and it's huge. And it's in every darn state. Check B is a forced stimulus check made law by Joe Biden, and it is a wonderful, massive, gargantuan $15,000 to $80,000 check, and it's in every U.S. state. Check C is a law, and it was made law by your Congress under third stimulus, and it is a check that is available in every U.S. state. See a narrative there? Yeah, every U.S. state. Check A, B, and C. So how do you get these incredible checks? Stay with me. They're coming up after the commercial break. We'll go over those incredible checks, A, B, C, and D. I want you to get a pen and paper ready, but guess when you don't need a pen? Guess when you don't need a paper? When you're a member of this channel, because it's all in the membership newsletter. That incredible newsletter comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Go to the top of the channel, become a member right now. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Casino VIP. Then, if you are a member, pull that newsletter out in front of you. Follow along in the second half. That newsletter comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. In the second half, we also have those breaking news about 7 stimulus, the student loan and debt forgiveness. Boy, we got a great month coming up in front of us. Build Back Better Act likely to pass. SS 300 likely to get done. More state stimulus likely to happen. It's a beautiful month coming in front of us. And a vote on Build Back Better Act also expected across the board. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, we got a lot of money coming up in the second half. Become a member during that commercial break, and I'll see you back in 60 seconds. As America's most watched show in financial news in Americans' prime time goes into a big second half, see you back in 60 seconds.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now for April 30th, 2022, for America's most watched show for financial news in prime time. It's Evenings LA. It's a 1-hour special broadcast tonight because major checks have landed by direct deposit in your wallet. And I have all the incredible news. It's great. You need it because we're in a bear market. We have the economy stalling up. And situation on this global front is stalling. You want every pot of money that you can get. I'm going to show you how to get every pot of money. That's what I've been doing for over 2 years. The latest details tonight is that big checks are landing, even though we have all those concerns about recession, inflation, and stagflation around. Let's go over each of those checks, starting first with where we left off with Check D. Check D is the result of the states being given a lot of extra money from the third stimulus package in January 2021. Now, use or lose. States have to use the money or lose the money, and they will use the money. First, every state has money. Number 2, every state will use the money. Number 3, every state has to determine when to use the money and how to use the money in the month of May because they run out of time if they wait too much longer. Now, at the time of tonight's recording for April 30th, 2022, the great news is that we're at 24 states, up from 20 states just about 48 hours earlier, that have announced or have released a forced stimulus check. Let's go over the details. First, we have about half of the states that have actually passed it into law and the other half that have actually proposed it. But let me explain this to you clearly as to what the difference is with states. In the case of a state, the proposals of legislation usually come from the governor. And when the governor says, I propose something, that generally means it happens. Why? Because the governor is usually the controlling party, and the governor is usually the person in control, his party is usually in control of the state legislature. Number two, there's no state that has money that's not going to use the money. So a state has the money. This is sort of a no-brainer. It's just the question of what day they're going to announce the money. Let's say it again. Every state has money. Every state was given money. Every state will use the money. It's just a question of what day they're going to announce it. So then the next question is, how is the money dispersed? Very simply, great question. Most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, it's a stimulus check. It's a pure stimulus check. And the eligibility, 9 out of 10 times, is generally the same as a third stimulus. Single individual, 75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, 150,000 less, you would get it. And yes, if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, you would get it. It would come by direct deposit. It would come by direct deposit or otherwise in the mail. That's about 90% of the time. About 10% of the time, the checks are dependent upon you filing a tax return. And it's a refund off the tax return. For example, let's say you have no tax liability that year and your tax return shows zero, and there's a $500 tax credit put in under forced stimulus refund. Then you get that refund check in the mail. It's incredible. If you're on benefits like SSI or SSDI and perhaps don't have to file a tax return, well, you still voluntarily can do that to get that check. The remaining 10% of the legislation proposed or in place is a more restrictive type of stimulus check that's just, say, for hazard pay individuals in the state, or is somehow a stimulus relief. It's not a pure check. And there you go. The great news is that every state will likely announce something, that every state will likely announce it in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and that every state is coming on board because they got the money and they got to use it. They ain't going to lose it. Now, this is the incredible Check D. The question you now probably want to ask is, okay, what about my state? What is going on in my state? Well, you don't have to ask that question because guess what? What's happening with Check D in your state, the state stimulus checks we just went over? It's all in the membership newsletter. The membership newsletter goes state by state and tells you which states have announced and what states have passed laws to send out a stimulus check under the use or lose remainder of the funds from third stimulus. The membership newsletter details it under Check D. You go to that membership newsletter, and then you go down to Check D. Then it has a list of every single state that has done something. Now, as recorded earlier in this video, it's important to remember that every single state, I'm going to say it again, every single state has a stimulus check, a forced stimulus check. And I don't want you to think just about Check D, because Check A and Check B and Check C are also law. Now, one thing I want to make very clear, because I know it sounds a little bit confusing. Check A and Check B I often call as Joe Biden's checks, and Check C is sort of this amorphic check left over from third stimulus. But I want to make very clear that A, B, C, and D are all paid to you by the states. Now, when I say it's Joe Biden's check, it means he made it a law and he underwritten it. He funded it. But he's not sending you the check directly from the White House. It's being sent to you by the states. So that's why I say every single state has a check, forced stimulus check for you. Are you ready for the next check? We just went over Check D. Let's go over Check A. Joe Biden made this forced stimulus check law. It's by executive action. The President of the United States made a Check A law. Open that membership newsletter if you're in front of me watching tonight's video. Let's look at that Check A in that membership newsletter right now. Check A is a $6,500 forced stimulus check that Joe Biden made law by executive action. Again, it's administered by your states. More about that in 1 second. The eligibility for this check is so simple. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, you get it. The eligibility is a homeowner's weatherizing grant check. How do you get it? You pounce as a Purple Hawk. You become a member, get that newsletter, and then go right into the newsletter down to Check A. It's right at the top of the newsletter. You look for Check A in the newsletter. It gives you a little bit more information about it. It's the homeowner's weatherizing grant check, made law by executive action by Joe Biden. And then you click the link. It'll send you into the federal website, which then you choose your state, like Mississippi, goes into the Mississippi weatherizing grant check, and then you click that link and you apply. Notice I said into Mississippi. Yeah, so Mississippi will administer your application. Mississippi will pay you if that's the state you live in. But guess who funded it? Joe Biden. Executive action. And that is a wonderful forced stimulus check. The next check is even better. It is $15,000 to $80,000. It's a forced stimulus check underwritten by Joe Biden as well. Again, this is administered by the states. How do you get this check? Same way as Check A, but just a different website. So simple. First, you become a member. Go into that membership newsletter. Go down to Check B. Then click the link for Check B. It'll send you into the nationwide website. Then you choose your state. That's how you get routed back to your state again. And you'll see a map something like this. You click the map, and then when you're on your respective state, you click your state, let's say Hawaii, and you go right in there and you apply. Again, it'll say approved if you did a ride, and you get funded within about a week. You get funded by your state, but it's underwritten by the federal government. It's a $15,000 to $80,000 forced stimulus check. My goodness, that's a lot of money. Eligibility is same as the third. Again, $75,000 less, single individual, married couple, $150,000 or less. And yes, if you're on benefits, SSI and SSDI, you can get it. These are two wonderful forced stimulus checks. One, Check A. Second, Check B. Now let's go to Check C. Check C is also paying out. Now this is the remainder of third stimulus, but it's still paying out in your states. It is paying a fortune. $24,000 to $45,000. Many viewers of the channel are getting over $125,000. This, my friends, is for rent and also for homeowners. How do you get this incredible check? Let's go over the details of how you get this incredible check right now. You're going to reach out to, as members, 15 different places. You're going to reach out to 15 different places and get these incredible sums of money, because guess what? Viewers have done this since December 2020. If there's something I've done a lot on this channel is get a lot of people money for Check C. Look at these astronomical numbers. Huge. $27,000 I've gotten people for rent. Look at these numbers. These are numbers I've gotten people in every single U.S. state. Here are the numbers for SNAP. Here are the numbers for combo. Here are more numbers for combo. Here's Mark at 50,000. He went to 100,000. Then he went to 166. And Lorraine, she went from 105. She went to 125. Where are the places you're going to reach out to? They're all in the membership newsletter. 15 places. And those incredible places fund you so well. What do? You reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority, your state hall, and your state housing authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, rent or mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. 3 things you must do. You must reach out to all the different places. You must get multiple applications on file, and you must reach out to the nonprofits. Now, let's understand the difference between being a member and not a member. The members have access to the nonprofits. They're huge. You absolutely need to reach out to those nonprofits because there's at least about 6 of them, and they fund a lot of money. Go get these incredible sums of money. Viewers on average are getting about $45,000. Do not wait. You deserve this money. This is Check C. It's available in every single state. Go get that money tonight. Go get the money today. And you can get it on the weekends. Get that incredible Check C. You deserve it. Pounce and get that incredible sums of money right today. That is your Check C. How do you get this incredible money? Learn more about Check C. To learn more about Check C, it's all in the membership newsletter as well. Yes, become a member. Go to the top of chat, pin comment, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Get that newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube alert system. And get what you deserve. Check A, available in every U.S. state. Check B, available in every U.S. state. Check C, available in every U.S. state. And Check D, likely to be available in every U.S. state. There is a check available everywhere. Now, here comes my commentary early in tonight's video. My commentary early in tonight's video comes with a anecdote of two events that happened the last 24 hours. Last night, when this show aired in prime time on Evenings LALATE on Friday night, I had a recording airing, and in the live chat, one viewer said, "Is there a check D in California?" Someone wrote that in the live chat. Another viewer said, "No, there's not." Another viewer said, "Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad I know that there's now no check in California for check D." And then that second viewer and the first viewer continued the narrative back and forth, 10, 15 minutes. There was about 10 comments by them in the live chat that there's no check in California. Meantime, in the live chat were two other viewers who live in California. Well, including myself, obviously. Three other viewers in the live chat who live in California, watching them say, "There's no check in California. There's no check D in California. There's no check D in California." 500 people were in the live chat, and they were members. And no one in the live chat who was a member told those people that were saying there was no forced stimulus check in California to zip it, because there is. There is a forced stimulus check in California. In fact, there's two forced stimulus checks in California. In fact, there's forced stimulus checks in California. There's forced stimulus checks. There's actually two forced stimulus checks in California. There is forced stimulus checks at the county level in California as well. And in many counties, I think it's like a half a dozen counties, which I don't even cover on this channel. And there's forced stimulus checks in many city levels in the state of California as well. Needless to say, if we're just talking about the state itself, there is check D in California, and check A, and check B, and check C. And 500 people in live chat did not tell those people to stop it. And that is why this is all about people trying to be nobodies. That's not you. You're trying to be a somebody. This morning on early mornings LA, far before sunrise, a viewer was in the live chat and said the following comment. The viewer said, "In Pennsylvania, they're not giving any money nor ever will to anyone as a forced stimulus check." Now, I had the wonders of being able to watch the video at that time with the cell phone. Because you know what's great with the cell phone? You can talk into the cell phone and not type. So guess what I did? Purple Patrol, Purple Patrol, Purple Patrol. It was just like rapid fire. I just spoke into the phone. And you know what's wonderful is the phone recognizes the words Purple Patrol. It types them really well. And I said, "Purple Patrol," about 500 times. The viewers said, "What's wrong?" I said, "There is a forced stimulus check in Pennsylvania." The person then said, "Well, that's just proposed by Governor Wolf in Pennsylvania." I said, "Yeah, but when something is proposed as a forced stimulus check by the governor, it will become a law. I'm not saying it's law today. It will become a law. Just give it a day or two." And then the viewer said, "But that's not law yet. And there will never be any money for forced stimulus checks in the state of Pennsylvania." I said, "Well, you know that there's also check A, B, and C. They're already law in Pennsylvania. Check A is already paying in Pennsylvania. Check B is already paying in Pennsylvania." And the viewer said, "Well, that is only for homeowners. There will never be any money for renters." Notice how this has gone. Notice how the person is being backed into the corner. No offense to the viewer, but that's basically what I'm doing to him. I'm backing him in the corner. He first said there's no money ever in Pennsylvania. Then I said, "Well, there's a forced stimulus check. That's check D. That will get passed in a few days." "Well, it's not a law now." "Okay, well, then you have check A and B law now." "Well, that's just for homeowners." "Well, no, you got check C. That's for renters in your state as well." "Well, there's no money in the state for renters and homeowners." Unless you're homeowners and renters. Okay, next you got another default back. Yeah, so this is all about being a nobody or somebody. Apparently that viewer loved being about a nobody. Loves being a nobody. What is a nobody and somebody? A nobody is someone who wants to say there's nothing. There's no money. There's no money when there is money. They love saying there's nothing. I can't help them. They love saying no. They will go to their grave saying there's nothing. A somebody is the reverse. A somebody is a person who, you know what? I became a member. I got that newsletter. I got a year of rent, as one viewer told me in a private message on Facebook overnight. The viewer's so proud. You get so proud of yourself when you get money. It's a wonderful feeling to know you found a video, you found a channel on YouTube, you became a member, you became a subscriber, you opened a newsletter, you read through it, you listened to the video, you played the next video, you understood it. Then you slowly apply your information to from learning to earning, and then you got money. It's a wonderful feeling. And when you get the money, you feel like somebody. You feel like somebody. I can't make a nobody a somebody. A nobody that wants to be a nobody will ultimately go to their grave being a nobody because they want to say there's no money. There is money. There's a fourth stimulus check in every single state tonight, whether check A, B, C, D, or all the above. And when you get that check, you feel like somebody. Now, you can also feel like somebody when you learn about 7 stimulus. 7 stimulus is student loan debt forgiveness. And student loan debt forgiveness has now yielded many success stories on this channel in the last 7 days, including Chef John Meyer. The President of the United States has now forgiven more student loan debt. Let's go over the details of what has been forgiven and what's coming up in May. The President has forgiven student loan debts for individuals who became disabled after graduation. Then, forgave student loan debts for individuals who went to work in the public or nonprofit sector after graduation. Thereafter, the President took debts that were in default and put them in good standing. Next, the President said if your debts were due in May, I'm going to roll them over to September. Thereafter, the President said if your debts were procured by fraud by the university against you, and this is a lot of people, he's going to forgive those student loan debts. Finally, the press secretary said the President's determination on complete student loan debts will be determined but has yet to be determined. On Friday, the President said $50,000 will not happen, but many insiders, including myself, believe that the President will forgive an additional $10,000 for everyone thereafter, which will be tens of millions of U.S. citizens across the board. Great news. As we go into a big night, there's a lot to know. The month ahead of us, the week ahead of us is a great month. Why? Because we now have a check A, we now have a check B, we now have a check C, and we now have a check D that is resulting in a check for everyone in every U.S. state. The earliest days of the channel, when I sat here and I stared at the screen like that, and I did the dancing bear. And I said, hey, there's money in Michigan. There was something with Michigan. I don't know what was with Michigan. Michigan had more people saying no, 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 more nobodies than ever anywhere else. And I quickly turned a lot of those nobodies into somebodies. A lot of nobodies have turned into somebodies. And I showed, look, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. Tonight, more and more people are becoming nobodies and to somebodies on this channel. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of all the incredible new members who have come here to earn by learning and not get burned, because this U.S. economy is going to burn people. It's going to burn people. We're heading into 2 years of recession. The latest data tonight is that the economy is shrinking. We are at 7.1% projected growth rate of the U.S. economy just 30 days ago. Now we're at 6.9%. Then the White House signaling that it may shrink to 3.7% by the end of the year. Deutsche Bank saying 2 years of recession. Guess what I said over a month ago? I said 2 years of recession starting at the end of this year. But already with auto and homeowners, housing are in recession right now. That means if we're in recession, we have 0% growth or negative growth, because recession means we're shrinking. But the one of the GDP numbers released on Thursday or Friday signaled that the U.S. economy did shrink over 1% in the last 30 days. Ouch, that's a lot of shrinkage. More shrinkage than, cold water in the beach and getting out of the beach. A lot of shrinkage there, as Bob Bacon would say. What's important to note is that there is no opportunity for your stimulus to be shrunk. Your stimulus ain't getting shrunk on this channel. It may stink on other places, but it ain't going to stink or shrink on this channel, because big stimulus checks are available. And those 4 stimulus checks have landed and will continue to land by direct deposit when you learn and earn a 4 stimulus check, a $6,500, a $15,000 to $80,000 check, and an MSC check. We got money for homeowners and renters. We got money for SSI and SSDI. We got money in every single state across the union. And we're not getting started. We're not ending right there, because every day a new check becomes law. We had check A become a law on March 31st, check B on March 4th, check C in early 2021, and check D becoming law just 7 to 14 days ago. Every day another check could become a law, and every day I will find it. That's my focus. That's your focus. I'm here to get you every check, and I give you that encouragement because the money is out there. Don't become nobody, become a somebody. Learn to earn. That's what we have nightly. And that's why I want you to become a part of this family. Go right in this video right now and become a member. Click that link and become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Get that credible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Meantime, go to the top of the chat. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to become a member and subscribe. Then there's a little bell. Hit that bell and hit it for all notifications. So you get a notification every time another check goes out. And every time there's a lobster fest. I mean, no, the bell doesn't work for that. Every time that a talking cow runs into a scarf-running lady at the beach and has a tryst, it'll send you a notification. Yeah, he's coming back. Yes, she's coming back. There's a lot coming back. More stimulus checks are coming back as well in the next 30 days. I'm excited you're here. Stay informed, stay focused. Stay with me over the rest of the night. Evenings LA at 5 o'clock. Evenings countdown at 6 o'clock. Evenings Sri and Stillness at 7, evenings extra at 8, and then sunset at 9 o'clock. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful night. From my shores to your shores, from my family to yours. Stay with LA for more.